they came from Poland, of course. They were Polish people, and they came here in I believe 1902, and they settled in East Derby. And they were in Derby quite a while. Then they married in 1905, and just about all his family came here at one time. He had five sisters, and of course, after a while, when they moved on to the farm, uh, all his sisters had, of course, they got married and had babies, and they needed milk, and Pa had the farm, so that's where the milk business started in East Derby.
My grandfather came to this country from Italy in the late 1800s, 1888, 1889, and started off raising sheep. And there was a farm which now belongs to Chukta, was where my grandfather started. And then he bought the farm that we had, which is no more there, and started raising cows, started milking cows. And at one point, probably even before my time, he was milking close to 100 cows. But he had 7 sons and 1 daughter, so he had a lot of help. And it just grew. He passed away 1921, before I was born, so I never really knew my grandfather. I knew my grandmother, and it just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And he was he Sunday mornings, they say, he used to hook his buggy up. His boys would hook it up for him, and he'd just go out riding, and he'd run into a farmer or somebody that wanted to sell some land, and he'd buy it. And the farm at one point was 600 acres.
Is that right?
And we just kept growing. We grew into the point where there was 3 of us peddling milk. We had 3 milk trucks on the road, and then kind of milked. What I think the biggest thing that happened to home delivery of milk, was when mothers started to go to work. Then there was nobody to take the milk in from on the porch. So they would say, "I'm sorry, I got to stop taking milk because I'm going to work and there's nobody here to." And so then they come up with little boxes, but they wouldn't hold it all day. They would hold the milk for a while, and that's what slowly kind of did the milk business out of business. But and then as all my uncles have now passed away. And we had the only thing we had to do was to sell the property, and so we did that, and that's the last the farm.
Yes.
Years ago, my grandfather, when his daughter was the oldest, my Aunt Margaret, and my Uncle Tom, and he used to fill a wagon full of whatever he had, potatoes, he grew everything. And cabbage and so forth, and the 2 of them would go downtown with the horse and buggy, and they were probably 10, 12 years old when and they'd ride around in Ansonia and Derby and sell vegetables.
When I was growing up in the late 20s and early 30s, right, the road was partially paved, and there was hardly any cars going through.
Yes.
When the car went by, I used to run in the house and say, "Hey, Ma, a car went by."
A lot of the farm work, by the time I got out of high school, they were still milking. I think my father quit early.
Your father milked cows a long time after that.
I don't know, it was, now I'm getting my dates mixed up, either 70, no, it was after that. It was around the early 90s, my father finally quit.
I see.
I had a nephew that was his right hand, and he got shot over in the war, and he was my father's helper.
Yes.
And Then after that, and my father was 79 years old and he couldn't do it all by himself. So we had already started doing other things and working other places, and that's when we went out of the farm business. I miss that. I miss farming. I really, really miss farming.
I'm sure you both do.
Yeah.
Well, you
Are
see,
you
when
still
it's in you, you just don't let go.
Yes.
A farm is a 24-hour vigil. That's why I always said, I talk to certain people, and we get talking about food, right?
Yes.
And they say food is awful high in the store. I say, what? I said, I dispute that. I said, I think it's cheap. So they say to me, why? Why do you say that? I said, if you knew what it takes to put a quart of milk, a pound of beef, or a basket of vegetables onto the table from day one for what it involves and takes, I said, you wouldn't have nothing to say. No comment.
Right? Yes.
Well, farming is a 7-day-a-week job. It's a
Yeah.
12-hour day job.
Yes.
And,
can't take off.
you know, you couldn't leave them for somebody else to take care of. You know, like if you have a dog and you want to go on vacation, so the neighbor will feed the dog. You know, but you can't do that on the farm. And everything has to be done at a certain time. You got to plant in the spring. You got to cut hay. You got to. So there was no room. You couldn't hard to stick a vacation in anywhere. You know.
When things had to be done on the farm, they had to do it now. You can't wait. You can't wait. If you had tomatoes to pick, if you had hay to get in, that was first. A lot of people got a divorce over something like that, you know.
Yeah. Then there was an elderly gentleman that every once in a while you'd see a storm building or coming, and he'd be out in the field, Mr. Weed.
Yeah.
He'd be out in the field studying everything. And I said something to him one day, what are you doing, Mr. Weed? Well, he's just figuring out the weather, so forth and so on, and blah, 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 you know.
Didn't need a weatherman.
My brother said to him one day he wanted to take the kids up to a state park to do some swimming. And he says, he was telling Mr. Weed, he says, is the weather going to be all right? He says, when are you leaving? So he told him, he says, it's going to be good, go ahead. It was a beautiful day, and it was a week or so in advance of when he was leaving, but he was great at it. And of course, they all were. My father, somebody asked him one day, he had to cut hay, and they said that, it might rain and so forth, and they got into that, and he says, here's what it is. He says, when I get up in the morning, he says, I got to get up at 5 o'clock to go to work. He says, when I walk out the door, the weather's right there, and there ain't a darn thing I can do about it, he says.
That's
and
right.
if it means cut hay or get hay wet, then so be it. But they all had, it was just interesting to be with them all. I mean, it was always something to talk about, something to do.
There's so many things on a farm, so many things that's involved. Some people don't know. The machinery, the animals, what have you. It's Al knows what I'm trying to say. It's just preys on your brain all the time. Well, we started pasteurizing in 1950.
And you did it right there at the farm?
Yeah, right in that little store we have there.
Yes.
We pasteurizing, then we went into homogenization, and I think Albert's people did the same thing. And I got into making sour cream and cottage cheese, which was being Polish. The Polish people, they like that kind of stuff, see?
Yes.
And it was a challenge to me. I liked it, but after so many years went by, the home delivery got to be a dying business.
Yes.
Albert knows.
Yeah.
Everything went into the supermarkets.
Sure.
And in those days, back in the, when we were doing it, there was a lot of, every little farm had a little bit of a route. A few friends in town, they would go down and make a few bucks. And that's how they kept alive, so to speak. Catherine Brady taught 1 to 4. And the other side was Estelle Louis's wife, right?
Yeah, and then there was Mary Hull.
Mary Hull, yeah, she was one of the originals, I think, Mary Hull.
Yeah.
And there was no inside bathroom, outside outhouse. And some of the the room I was in, some of the classes, maybe there was 4 or 5 kids in one class only, because that's all there was on the hill. The monkey school, which was over here on the corner, up on Great Hill, I remember that. I remember Cedar Ridge School. And
Where was that?
Cedar Ridge School was over where the old paper mill was, right in that corner there. It's hard to explain.
Up on the hill,
No, it wasn't on the hill.
downtown?
Like if you took Day Street and went up and up that way,
Yes.
and just before you got to the old paper mill on the right, that's where the school was, right there. I think the building is still there.
I see, yes.
There was a grocery store there after a while.
Yep.
But there was a school, Bell School. I don't know if you ever heard of that one.
No, I have not.
No, there is. There used to be a Bell School. Let's see now. Where the Great Hill Church is, you go towards Oxford, right, on Botsford.
Yes.
I don't know what that road name is.
Are you down on Holbrook?
Yeah, right where you turn into the cemetery there on the right.
Okay,
On the left, I believe there was a schoolhouse there, Bell School.
I see.
I'm pretty sure, Al, your Uncle Tom went to school there.
Yeah, I don't remember
Yeah.
That's downtown. Center School.
School, yes,
Center School.
yes,
I went there to the 4th grade, and from there I went to Maple Street School.
yes.
And from Maple Street School, we stayed there until we went to the high
The
school.
high school, which is the present community center?
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yep.
I graduated from there in 1953, and we just had a reception.
You know,
Yeah,
I didn't care much for schooling. I don't know what it was. I did not care much for it at all. Math was gross to me. But when I started peddling milk, I learned math by myself.
I bet. You had to.
If somebody wahooed me $1 or $2 when I was collecting, when I went down the road, I would say to myself, "You son of a gun, you've done it to me once, but you're not going to do it again." So that's how I learned.
yeah, we used to roller skate, not roller skate, ice skate, and sledding down the hill, because the state never plowed the roads right away up on Great Hill. And in fact, my sister-in-law and my brother's wife and I used to start from the farm and go all the way down to where the Great Hill church is, down the rotary down there.
That's right.
And Johnny Nebesny, the fellow that lives across the street from them, used to come down with his car with a rope on the back. And he'd pull us all the way back up the hill. and we'd go down the hill again.
Yeah, you
John
don't
would
see-
come down and pull us back up the hill again.
You know-
Right in the corner of our house used to get a big pile of snow. And I used to dig make it like a hut in there, you know. And my father, of course, at that time, furnaces were burning coal. And he'd get coal in a pail, and he'd bring it into me, and that was for like a furnace in my little hut out there, you know.
Is that right?
Yeah, but we used to spend a lot of time playing in the snow and building things in snow, and you know, having a lot of fun in it. Today, you don't see too many kids really playing in the snow. I mean, they're out there doing something, but
That's true.
The generation is so different. See,
yeah, the times are changing so fast. and-
everything that Al and I talk about everything was farm related.
Yes.
Everything was farm related, and we had fun.
Yeah, we always had fun. Yeah, all the time.
Sure.
They always had a job. When we were young, I had a cousin who lived right next to me, near me, and his father was my Uncle Tom. Used to peddle milk, and we used to get doing something there on the farm, and it may have been piling wood, but we'd get something to do, and always running around the farm doing something, and playing around. I got a lot of cows and horses and to play with, and
Albert's Uncle Tom and others there. They were great people, my golly. Oh yeah.
It was all together. People, even everybody, not necessarily farmers, but people. It's the world is changing.
Oh yeah.
That he and I sometimes don't even understand that what they do and how they do things anymore, and it's we never got in trouble. I mean, we raise a little hell every now and then, but we never really got in trouble. But
And-
today, they're
And in those days, there wasn't many tractors. It was all horses. We all worked with horses.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But there was all kinds of animals. There was horses. There was pigs. There was
Oh
sheep.
yeah.
There was, I mean, everybody had some chickens. My father had, at one time, he had a chicken farm
Yeah.
of his own,
Yeah. I
and he had
remember
at one time had 5,000 chickens.
Oh, dear.
And my mother would go out and get a chicken, pluck it, and cook it for supper.
Oh
You know,
sure. Oh yeah.
And my father could walk in the chicken coop and say to my mother, what'd you do to the chick? You take a chicken? But she says, yeah, I got to feed you something.
My mother done the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So many, did he sell them? Have
Uh,
that many chickens, did he sell them?
No, he sold eggs. We sold
Okay.
eggs. Friday and Saturday evening, I was young. He and I used to go out with his pickup truck with a load full of eggs, and we'd go to Ansonia, Derby, Shelton. It'd end up at his sister had a restaurant, her husband had a restaurant in Shelton. And he'd stop and see her and talk to her for a while, and then home we go.
Geez, I remember the names.
My mother'd go to the firehouse and play bingo.
I remember the names. Somos, right?
Oh yeah, there's Somos in Shelton.
In
Yeah,
Shelton.
my grandfather had built a big barn
Yes.
with sawdust between the walls. You know,
For
it was double
insulation.
wall
Yes.
for insulation. And then he had a elevator, you'd call it.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're trying to say, but it's hard to explain. Everything was made out of wood.
They would cut. The pond is rather large,
Yes.
so they would start at the far end, cutting a swath about this wide, right through the ice, all the way to this barn. The barn had a type of an elevator, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
would slide the ice up.
That's right.
And they used to push the ice through there.
And in
then-
the channels.
Yeah, and in the channels, and you had the horse lifting and pulling it, or the tractor.
That's right.
If it would pull the ice up into the barn, and there'd be somebody up in there, and they would stack it. And then in summertime, all the people that delivered ice back then, there was no refrigerators; they were all ice
That's
boxes.
right.
Yes.
And they'd come up there and buy ice from my uncles, and go pedal ice. And
Now that I think of it more, it was quite an operation. Oh God! People used to come around to watch them harvest ice.
Yes.
Only on a good year.
because it was a large building. It was a very large building.
Oh, yes, it was.
And he'd fill it right with ice. I mean, they used to come up from Ansonia and the Tenadines,
Tenadine.
and they were icemen. They used to deliver ice. They used to come up in the morning, fill up their truck, and off they'd go delivering ice, and somebody else would do it. And people would
Was
come up
that
and
the-
buy just one big keg of ice. Or,
That was a big business years ago.
Yes.
yeah.
When did that stop?
Well, when the refrigeration came, I would say.
When the refrigerators come out, I
in
guess,
the-
because
in the,
the-
in the 30s, would you say something like that?
huh?
The refrigeration came in strong in the 30s, around there,
Yeah.
40s?
somewhere around there.
I was a young boy, but I remember it very well.
The apparatus that they pushed the ice into the barns with, it was really unique. And nobody thought of it then to take a picture of it, to have it. But I don't know anybody who did take a picture of it.
I don't.
But they built it all out of wood.
It was a
And it
square
worked.
thing. Square thing with two things that hung down on it,
That's right.
and it would get behind the ice and it would push the ice all the way over to the
push it
building and
right
up that, what's it called? And as the barn got full, the what's it called? It would get higher,
Yes.
but there'd always be somebody up there to get it and stack it. And it
The
was,
barns were huge. My God, I would say there would probably a couple of 100 ton of ice.
Oh yeah, it was a
more.
big building. It was a big building, but just the way people had to live back then. It was all, you know, and I came through that era into
To today.
to today, which is altogether different. You know, it's you could buy anything you wanted. Back then, you couldn't.
No, that's right.
There was a lot of things you know,
Every-
working
every-
chains and axes, and I mean, Ed's probably worked with as much of it as I have.
Oh God.
And my father used to sell a lot of wood in the wintertime.
Uh-huh.
And we'd have to cut wood. And,
Yeah, $15 a cord.
Oh,
Now it's 250.
yeah.
And you know,
Well, it's, Ed, excuse me, but that's like milk. I
Yeah.
remember very distinctly when it was in the 50s, after I graduated, we were selling milk for 33 cents a quart. Now today it's $3 and
yeah,
change.
that's right.
And it's
That was right.
yeah. Farmers kind of had a little release there,
Yeah,
a little
that's
relief.
right.
All my friends, when I got out of school, all my friends went and joined the service, and I wanted to go. And so I had to go down to Ansonia, where they had a military office down there, and my father had to go down with my father to sign up to go in the Army, and we were talking back and forth, a conversation like we are now, and he was a sergeant or whatever he was, turned to my father and he says, "You need that boy on the farm?" My father says, "I could always use another hand on a farm." He says, you know, if he leaves, he says, "I got to find somebody that's going to have to help me." And he looked at me a little bit, you know, and he says, "You know what?" He says, "Go on home and go to work." This was just when the Korean War was over. And he says, "All them soldiers are coming home." He says, "And right now we don't need you, but we'll know we are." And I never went. All my buddies went, but
I just missed the Second World War. I just missed it. I was 14 at the time. I had two brothers in, Ted and John, and when the war was at the end, I wanted to go in the worst way because I was of age. I wanted to go in the worst way, but my father wouldn't let me. He said, "No," he said, "there's two in there now. I don't know if they're coming back."
yes.
My brother Teddy was in the South Pacific, and he wound up in New Guinea. And my brother John was in the Battle of the Bulge, and they both came back, of course, which was good. But for the longest time, we didn't know where they were. I had two sisters, Sally and Vicky. They worked in the Pentagon at that time. They knew where they were, but they wouldn't let out no information. But everything turned out for the good, and everything ended, of course. And
other than the war, everything made its way. I mean, it's there's times when I sit and remember doing things that, God, now you need 5 people to help you. But not that I was dying doing it, but you just had all these things you'd done by hand, that's all. And
that's right. Everything was by hand.
Now,
My mother raised 11 of us, and I could picture my mother helping my father milk cows by hand. Can you imagine that?
No.
My mother was not a robust type woman. She was smooth, soft, but she just a hard worker, as well as others.
Yes.
they, you know,
As well as others.
to cook a meal, it took them
Oh yeah, you
quite a bit of the day, you know.
You didn't run down to the store and get this and get that. You made your own.
No, you went. My father used to go downtown one day a week. He'd go to the lumber yard, the feed store, the bank. Everything he had to do was done in one day, and he'd be back home in time so that he had milk cows at
Oh yeah.
5 o'clock. And it's just, I miss a lot of that. I used to go. I remember when I was small, my mother used to have to go shopping once a week to get clothes or get whatever, and I used to go with her, and we'd always stop at Vanetti's in Ansonia for ice cream, and she'd always remind me, you know, be good, or you won't get your ice cream. And I used to help her, and you know, once a week, I'd go with my father. He'd go to the hardware store. He'd go wherever he had to get. My father would often talk about this is way back now.
Oh, yeah.
Before my time. I wasn't even born then. But what they would do in the wintertime is they'd hook up the horse to a wagon, to a sled, or if
Oh,
it was
yeah.
it was in the summertime, they'd hook it up with a
Buggy.
yeah. But then they used to, all day long, they'd be heating rocks. And then at night, when they'd go for a ride after because they couldn't go until after they got the cow's milk, they'd get on they'd take their girlfriends or whatever, and they put the rocks on the
That's right. Out the
in
heat.
the wagon, and then put a blanket over them,
Yeah.
so they kept them warm. I mean, it'd get cold,
Yes.
and that was how they went somewhere. I mean,
That's how they ran the stagecoaches years ago.
Yeah.
Between stops, they would change the rocks, put hot ones in, take the other ones out, put the other one by the stoves to heat up with the next guy.
and horses. We always had 6 horses in our barn, and this horse was for that, and this horse was for that, and that horse was for this. I mean, every horse had his own
Is that
had a
right?
special
All had their
job.
own purpose.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, horses. They were.
yeah. When I was small, and I'm talking about when I'm probably 6 years old, my father would go cut hay, and of course he'd have a horse pulling the mower, and it had a bar that come out, and it had knives on it, and that's what slid along, and I had to help him because the hay would stick in where it came to the tractor, and I would trot with a stick about that long. It had a fork on it, and I would be behind it so that I would never get run over by it. And when that thing would plug up, he'd stop. I'd go up there and poke so he didn't have to get off of the mowing machine and go get that out of there. And that was my job. And sometimes I'd trot like that for a couple, 2-3 hours.
Oh yeah.
But
go
they
on.
always found something for you to do.
I know exactly what I was trying to say. Exactly.
They always you got included with them, you know. If he asked you to, when we were teenagers, we'd be cultivating corn. Of course, we did it by hand, and you'd be going along, you know, and my father would be going a little faster than you know. And then so you try to catch up to him, but he'd slow down, so you could go faster than him, you know. And then he would go faster to make you catch up to him again. The faster he made you go, the more you got done in one day, you know.
See, there was no weed killers in them
No.
days.
And you
Yeah,
cultivate corn with a horse and a cultivator, you know, that he had to walk on. And I could remember, I was 5 or 6 years old. I could remember it. He used to put me on a horse. And I rode a horse almost all day long, you know.
Oh, sure.
But they always made something fun for you to do, you know. He wants, you know, something to drink, and he'd say, "Go get the jug of water for me," you know. And you'd jump off the horse, go get a jug of water. He'd put you back on the horse, and away you'd go again, you know.
Of course, some carried something stronger than the water.
Really?
Mostly hard cider in those days, because that's all they could afford. They raised their own apples and made it to cider.
Hard cider and wine.
That's right. Wine, yeah.
Yeah. The Thompsons had a horse for sale. He had one horse, a cow. The Thompsons had a cow for sale, so he went up to buy it, and I don't know, he was going to give him $5 for the cow.
Yeah.
And he got up there, and they said, "No, we won't sell it for $5. We want $10 for it." He says, "I only got $5." He says, "I can't, you know." Walking back down to home, he found $10 bill side the road. He picked it up, went back, and bought his second-foot cow, and that's how he went along with his.
It was meant to
That's
be.
part of what, yeah, it was meant to made him off, you know.